Straw Hut Media.
Hi, my name's Husein Madhavji, and I'm on Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan, and I like being alone with Jake Hogan. For some reason, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and it's one of my favorite things to do, so I can't wait.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Hi, welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. I am your host, Jake Hogan, and I am thrilled to have a wonderful guest today. His name is Husein Madhavji. He is an actor, writer, television personality, and a guy I'm working on a pilot with about South Asian people. No one's better about South Asian people than me. An Encino Jew. No, I've been having a wonderful time getting to know Husein and we're basically doing a lot of work from his past and his family, and it's been great getting to know him, and it's been especially fun finding the common ground between my experience and his experience and being able to invest that into the show. If you can remember, please feel free to email me at dbawjk@gmail.com with any questions. Viewer questions are required. I need your help. I need questions. I also am asking anyone who can to please subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to, but especially on YouTube, because producer Ryan says if we don't get more subscriptions on YouTube, this whole ship is going down. It's going down fast. I won't say that there's a gun being pointed at me, but there's a gun being pointed at me. So please subscribe to YouTube. Go to YouTube, press subscribe. That's all you got to do. If we can get to 500 subscribers, then maybe the show will last. But maybe it won't. Anyway, we'll be right back with Husein Madhavji.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
So Husein, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me, by the way.
I'm thrilled to have you.
This is so cool.
Husein and I are working together on a project.
Right.
That's how we met. We were a pilot that we're working on, and I was brought in by you to say, hey, what I really want with a South Asian family is a Jew from California to really give their influence on it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a strange thing. But I loved it because
But it's working. It's working.
It's working.
It's working.
It wouldn't necessarily seem like a Canadian. You're Canadian?
I'm Canadian.
You're Canadian.
Yeah.
You are Muslim?
I'm Muslim.
Okay. Your family is from Canada by way of Africa, by way of India.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. East Africa by way of India. That's right.
By way of India.
Mm-hmm.
And you have an interesting background growing. I grew up in Hollywood. My dad was a writer.
Celebrated writer.
A celebrated writer.
Yeah.
And, I'm local boy. So we wouldn't automatically have a lot in common. But it seems as though we have an enormous amount in common.
A lot of, I love spending time with you.
Right, me too.
Yeah.
But
we go on these great hikes. I love spending time with you.
But one of the things that people wouldn't, not most people I know wouldn't be surprised by this, but there's some people that would be surprised that we have this much in common. And I think in this time of this turbulent time where everybody's screaming about everything,
right,
it's nice to talk about some of the things that we have in common and how odd it might be that we come from different countries and different perspectives and you're younger than I am, different ages,
right,
and yet we bond.
Right.
So I'm going to say some of the things that I bonded with you about. Maybe we can talk about some of the things you bonded with me about. And maybe we can also talk about some of the things that we find different about.
Right.
But you have an interesting and clear sense of family, which I do too.
You do as well.
I like a lot. We're both, it seems, interested in our backgrounds and the traditions that they provide.
Yeah.
But but we're not dogmatic necessarily in all of that.
No, because we question.
Right, we question and we think that not everything should be questioned and all that kind of stuff. Right now it's Ramadan, right?
It's Ramadan. I'm fasting right now. Yeah.
Right, so I normally have a gigantic spread for all the guests.
I know. Yeah, I actually asked them, remove all this food.
Right, but you practice some of the traditions that are the most important to you. I do too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right. That makes sense to me. Yeah, that's right.
And I do too. And I find comfort in that.
Right.
And I find sometimes spiritual satisfaction in it as well.
Yeah.
But more than anything, it's a sense of belonging in one way, community, all that stuff. So we share that, and I think that's pretty amazing. And then, the weird part about like Canada versus the United States is a whole other question about like, I'm a generally speaking pretty polite guy. So I fit in with the Canadian aesthetic, not the Toronto aesthetic, not necessarily the Vancouver aesthetic.
No. but like the middle, that's sort of the prairie maritime.
Right, exactly.
Aesthetic,
So I'm absolutely willing to say I'm sorry about anything right out the gate, as are most of my Canadian friends. What do you bond with me about?
Well, let's see. One of the things actually, and there's sort of specific little, we can talk about the general things that you sort of just mentioned, but little things that I find that I admire, and I thought that was, I think that's so great. We're in the middle of like a writing session and we're working, but when your parents call, like 1 second, like you will always pick up the phone for your mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I just think that is I just think that's so lovely.
Right.
Like it's so lovely. And I know there are times where my dad will call, like, I can't pick this up now, like, not now, Dad. But you'll just be like 1 second, and then you'll answer the call, and I just think that's.
You haven't been on the other side of it when I don't answer. That's one of the reasons you think it's sweet. It's self-preservation.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's self-preservation. My parents are.
How come you're not picking up?
Yeah, they're listeners to this show, so they won't. I'm not telling tales out of school, but my parents have come to depend on me in a great many things these days as they've gotten older, and so I don't know if that phone call is, come to the hospital, or that phone call is, where is the peanut butter? Right. They're both phone calls can come, and both phone calls when they come are desperately important to them. So,
but you answer, and to Mr. and Mrs. Kogan, he answers the phone all the time. You pick up the phone.
I do pick up the phone, although my mother would say you don't pick up the phone all the time.
He does.
Yeah,
he does.
I do. I really do.
He does.
Well, the show that we're creating is all about family.
That's right.
And it's interesting. You don't have kids, but you have a perspective. You have a good father's perspective about a lot of these things, even though you're not yet a father. You place yourself in that position and you pitch dad stuff pretty great.
I think it's sort of like, I stay with my brother-in-law, my sister, and they've got two wonderful boys, and I've stayed with them for a while. And so much of it is like stealing from them. Some of it's also like, well, what my imagination of what I would have done.
They have two wonderful boys, but do they have another shitty boy, or is it just the two?
It's just the two.
Okay, good.
And then, but it is, some days they're wonderful and some days they're kind of shitty, and that's just sort of what it is. Okay. And that's just what it is.
Right.
But it's sort of like pulling from them and also like, here's what I wish they would have done, or what I wish they could have done.
Yes.
I'm not a dad, so what do I know? Like, it's easy for me to say, but it's that.
Well, the one thing being a dad is you're always going to make a mistake. That is, you're going to try your best, and the best won't be good enough, period. Right. It's a bad road. You're on it, and that's the thing about being a dad. It's like you're going to do your best. This is other thing
about parents where they're like, there's this aspect of it where their parents will try to like, well, I didn't get this when I was a kid, so I need to make sure my kid has this. And it might not be the best for your kid. Well, that thing you didn't get.
We're living in response to how we were raised and what we thought was missing. Yeah. And so we try to offer stuff that we didn't get, and sometimes we go too far, and then that becomes their trauma.
Right. I was like, how come you're not appreciating this? Because I didn't have this, and they're like, they don't know. They don't have that perspective. So
I was thinking about that too. That I give my son space because my mom was somebody who didn't give me so much space.
Okay.
As you can tell by the 7 phone calls that I had the other night. But so the space, I try to give him space to be himself and to figure it out. And I'm here if he needs me, but I want him to figure it out. My wife is more like, let's jump in and help him. And I'm like, no, let him figure it out.
Right.
And I don't know who's right in this.
But can you tell, like, in those examples? Can you tell, this worked, or we should have given him more space, or we should have backed off?
Time goes on and people change, and who knows why he got better or worse at anything. Like, I can't tell you. I can tell you that my way was better or her way was better. We just know that he's now 22 and, he can drive and do things.
He's fine. Talented artist.
He's fine. But I don't know the things that he's lacking, or the things that he's amazing at. Who knows where they came from and whether or not we helped or hurt. I can't tell you. No idea. And I can't take credit for any of the good stuff, and I'll try not to take the blame too much of the bad stuff. Yeah.
You'll find out when he's like 30.
Exactly. When he goes to therapy and then comes back and says, Dad, these are the traumas I've
It's because of you. Yeah.
And I hope he does that, honestly. I can't wait for that discussion about like, hey, Dad, I actually had a show here on Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. Charlie was a guest, and I asked him to tell me the 5 things I did wrong. And he
had only 5?
He was sweet. He pulled his punches. He basically said that he wished that I had been harder on him in some ways to give him something to fight against. He wishes things have been too easy for him. He wishes he had something to fight against. Which brings me to a question about you. You're an actor and a writer and an artist. That doesn't seem like something that people in your family do. Is it?
No. I mean, my younger sister is, she's like a presenter in the luxury fashion world, so someone sort of in the arts.
We're gonna get to her in a second, but I'm just saying, like,
no, but it's true. The 3 of us, I have 2 sisters. 3 of us have like an artistic kind of side, but my parents weren't really around. You know, they came to Canada as refugees from Uganda,
right?
And Idi Amin, that whole thing. So they were just working and just. Hopefully these kids turn out okay, and I think it was pretty hard for them. But I think my oldest, she's older, so she kind of was like the mother figure in many ways, and allowed us to be artistic and allowed us to express that. So that's why it happened. But I think it was up to my dad. I don't think he'd be down for. Now he's down now,
right? So,
but as a kid, he would have been like,
so
no.
You think you got permission to be an artist from your sister?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in fact, I in high school I was doing all these musicals and stuff like that, and I applied for drama school, and my dad, to my dad's credit, he did take me to like the audition for drama. It was a school in New York, and I got in, and it was way too expensive. Like the international fees were way too expensive. So it was my sister, my oldest sister, who was like, listen, I know you want Husein to be like a lawyer or a politician because he speaks and blah, blah, blah. But what about doing this other course? It's sort of like, it's broadcasting and maybe he could do that, and it'll like satisfy his creative itch. So she had to broker this deal with my dad for me to kind of do something adjacent. And then eventually I kind of just did it.
Right. But then you actually became a broadcaster.
I was a broadcaster for like almost 10 years.
Literally became a broadcaster. So that was that proof that was the right decision? Did your dad go like, okay, I see now? Or was he always like, I don't know?
He was like, I think when he saw me wear a suit for the first time on television, like I was a broadcast, like I did like local TV in Winnipeg, so it's like in the middle of the country. Then I did a morning show in Sacramento, and so my dad's not really around seeing this.
Right.
So I come back to Toronto and I hosted like a national entertainment show in a suit.
Right.
And my dad was like, "Whoa, that's my son," and that was like a big deal for him.
Right.
Yeah. And then one time I loosened the tie.
Yeah.
Live on TV. As soon as it was a commercial, he called.
Straighten your tie.
Straighten your tie. Are you crazy? You're going to get fired. That's exactly what he said.
So do you think you would have gotten the same reaction if you just showed up at his house in a suit?
Probably.
Regardless of being on TV?
He's got a suit on.
Exactly. My son has a suit. He's made it.
He made it.
Yeah. Was it a nice suit? I bet it was a nice suit.
It was a really nice suit. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
You pay for yourself or the show paid
No,
for?
the show paid for it.
All right. See, that's something nice. Bespoke. You get a bespoke suit.
Totally. Yeah. It's got to look great. Yeah.
So,
tailored. Yeah.
So your sister, this should be a show. And it will be at some point.
Rosamund, my younger sister. Yeah.
She's in the fashion world, but she's also kind of in the world of high level, basically royalty. Like that she deals with people in the highest levels of society.
She does, yeah. She does.
And helps them aesthetically figure things out, but also just she's in it. She's no longer just like an outsider consultant. I feel like she's in it.
No, she's in it. Yeah, she very much. And that's a testament to who she is, like her character, and like, you know, they trust her, and you know, it takes a while to build that kind of rapport. And she's like she's a dynamic individual. Like she works very hard, but also like is very authentic in the way she presents herself.
Which is so weird to me because she's like hanging out in Dubai and doing this crazy stuff and dealing with sort of some of the most exclusive people in the world.
That's right.
And you're saying how down to earth she is. Like, well, how does that work?
Her and I have got a very close, the three of us, three siblings, we were very, very close and we communicate all the time. That's a big part of it. I think coming from I don't know, she still has a North American, definitely a Canadian sensibility to her, like that, this sort of down to earth. When she's at home, we're just working like my parents, they're retired now, but they used to own a store. And my sister and I would be the ones that would go to the warehouse and we'd fill up the coolers. While she's home from Dubai, we'd be doing all this work for mom and dad. So there's not I'm too good for anything or none of that, the family definitely grounds us. Then she goes off to Dubai, does her thing, and then we're there pulling her down. But not in a conscious way, just in how we communicate with each other way.
Yeah.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
So this show is about interesting people like yourself solving my problems.
What's the problem?
So my problem this week that I thought you would be specific to help me with is I am a Jewish guy who likes some of the traditions of my religion, but I'm not deep into it. Okay. I like it. I even study Torah sometimes, do stuff like that. I'm interested in studying and learning about it.
Right.
But I'm always wondering how much of the traditions of Judaism do I want to embrace and adopt and live, and how much do I just want to have as background?
Right.
I know people who celebrate Shabbat, which is every weekend. They don't touch things. They don't turn on the lights. They don't do all the things. I know people who keep kosher and don't eat meat and milk together, or don't eat pork and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I know people who celebrate every holiday, every single holiday,
right,
not just the big ones. And I'm not committed, and I don't know where the line. People who are committed seem to draw a lot of joy from it.
Okay. And
people who, like me, are not committed, are sort of just wandering around, kind of a fair weather friend, taking what I want and leaving what I want, which isn't really what a religion is, right? Religion is you're supposed to sort of jump, truly believe and be all in. And if you're commanded to do something, you're supposed to do it. Right. It's not up to you to choose. God supposedly made that choice for you and you're supposed to do it.
Yeah. Stop thinking kind of.
But I'm choosing and I'm picking.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
I don't think it's weird. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying of what religion is supposed to be. I guess let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you happy? Are you happy with the choice of being in the background, picking and choosing?
Well, I mean...
Or have you tried to commit? And I was like, that doesn't make me happy. You know what I mean?
No, I've never really tried to commit. That's the other thing. I've never really tried to commit. But I'm happy in general, but I'm also unhappy in the way that everybody's unhappy. People who are spiritually fulfilled are probably happier than I am. They're probably walking through the world feeling stronger and more firm in their beliefs. And there's actually scientific studies that say that people who are true believers live happier, better lives because they have something to believe in, whatever it is.
Right, whatever that
is. So am I happy? I could be happier, but I also don't want to do that shit. I don't want to do this stuff, and I don't want to daven at temple at 7 a.m. I don't want to go all that time. I would be bored, I think.
Here's what I would say. I know the general concept of religion is supposed to be dive in. These are the prescribed things.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is this. I'm Muslim.
Yes.
But I'm a Shia Muslim.
Right.
So there's divisions in Islam, there are divisions in many of the major faiths, right? There's in Christianity, Anglican, Protestant. So,
right.
And in Islam, there's 70 or 80 different, right? We only see the ones that are on the news and on television, but there's so many different kinds. So I'm Shia.
By the way, not great press on the news for anybody.
Press. We need better PR.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
So true. We really need better PR. And I'm trying to help. I'm part of the PR campaign here.
Who is the Shia PR person?
We need to fire that firm. This is awful.
Yeah.
So I'm Shia, but then I'm also Ismaili, which is another sect of,
Okay.
actually Nizari Ismaili. It's like a separate sect of.
What are the two differences between those
the Shia and
the
Sunni?
Shia versus the Sumaili?
Shia and Ismaili. So do you know the difference between Shia and Sunni?
Yeah.
So Sunni is like, okay, Shia was like, there's the prophet, peace
Right.
be upon him, and then when he died, Sunnis believe that it's like, okay, it stops right there,
Right.
and then there's an interpretation of the Quran from different local imams. That's how
Right.
things. But the Shia doctrine is more that his cousin and son-in-law Ali, Shias believe that it was passed on to Ali,
Right.
and then it just goes down a lineage, like so. Ali would then teach the faith to his followers,
Right.
and then his son Husein would pass it to his followers,
Right.
Hassan Hussein, and then Zain al-Abidin, keep going down,
Right.
and then
Is there an ancestor still living now?
that's right. So for Ismailis,
Right.
there was a split at Jafar Sadiq, Imam Jafar, peace be upon all these
Yeah.
great individuals.
all
Okay,
good.
and he had two sons,
Uh-huh.
Musa Kazim and Ismail, and because they were being persecuted at the time, Jafar Sadiq, my understanding is, said we need to conceal Ismail because we need to save him, protect him.
Right.
And then when he died, Jafar Sadiq dies, Musa Kazim holds on to the throne at that
Right.
point. And so those are that's one group of
Right.
Shias. But then Ismail comes up, he's like, yo, what about
Right.
over here? And so those are the Ismailis.
Right.
And so there's a present living imam, the Aga Khan
Okay.
would be 49th
Right. In
imam
line.
from the prophet.
Okay.
So
And is he a prophet? The Aga
no,
Khan?
not a prophet. So it's an imam. So an imam is someone who would interpret
Right.
the Quran and the prophet's teachings and all that kind of stuff to today. So Ismailis, I would say, you would consider us to be a very progressive form of Islam simply
Right.
because it's interpreted to the 21st century.
So is it
you know?
hard to marry the two?
I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to marry, period.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I was married to someone who was Ismaili. And it didn't make me a better Ismaili. It didn't make me a better Muslim. I wasn't praying more or what would that, like, it didn't matter at all. So my thing about faith was
Those sects, by the way, I mean, Judaism, they're all sects of an Abrahamic
faith. That's right.
So we're all sects of all those
That's
things.
right.
So, yeah.
Totally. And I just think, though, like, the more I think about faith, I'm like, okay, Shia, Ismaili, Muslim. So I practice Islam different than, say, my friend Adnan, who's Ahmadi Muslim, which is another different sect.
Right.
So
We hate them. Ugh.
Oh God, no! Beautiful group.
Right.
His family's very,
Right.
very, very kind. I don't know
Okay.
about the rest of them. They're all amazing.
Right.
So very different than that.
Right.
But then the way I practice being Ismaili is very different than how my sister practices
Right.
being Ismaili. So then faith is such a personal.
But
it's such a
why should
personal
it be?
thing.
But it's not personal in the scheme of the religion. There's very strict laws. You're just deciding for yourself. Well, those strict laws I'm not going to go with. These strict laws I'm going to go with.
I think those strict laws. I mean, what are the strict laws though? That I'm fasting right now because I
Right.
enjoy the fast.
Okay.
You know, I
It's
enjoy
good
it.
discipline. It's also what your community's doing, and there's a party that happens when sun goes down.
Ready for the party.
Right.
But to be honest, not a lot of my family, not a lot of my family
Right.
fast. They
Right.
don't. They,
Right.
Some of them choose not to, and then, and I know, I know it's prescribed.
Yeah, but you're an actor. Actors love to fast. Like any
It's
kind
true.
of cleanse
That's a good
or
point.
juice
Yeah, any
thing.
kind of waiting for it.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
I
that's
want
true.
an
That's a good
excuse to
point.
just have water for 4 months.
I'm fasting. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
fatty.
exactly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's true.
Right.
Gluten free.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at it as like a personal journey, and that would be to answer your question
Right.
in terms of Judaism.
Yeah.
Just look at it like what works for you.
But that's what I do. But I feel like
Is someone judging you? Is someone saying, "Come on, Jay"?
I'm feeling like a sham, like Jewish. You know, it's like I'm not doing the full thing. Like I'm doing part of it. And by the way, that's most people and most. I get it. I'm not alone in this.
Right.
And Judaism there's a bunch of mystical parts to Judaism, just like every other religion. And there's Kabbalah is one big part of that, which is not part of how I grew up. It wasn't in my temple. Nobody talked about Kabbalah
at all,
or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, Madonna brought that forward.
She first exposed you to Kabbalah. That's right. Me too, actually.
But I don't know. You know, I'm less likely to buy into that stuff. So that's the kind of stuff where I'm really thinking like, okay, these are people who are deluding themselves into thinking that these numbers have meaning and everything has everything.
Right.
And so I approach it both positively and negatively. Positively, like, hey, fantastic that you got this great spiritual uplift from it, and negatively, like, I don't buy it at all.
Right. I just think it's like, look, I think a big part of religion is community.
Yeah.
Right. So you go to, do you go to like the synagogue or temple? Like, do you go?
On like in big holidays, I'll go. I don't.
Sure.
I don't go normally.
Okay.
And sometimes even on big holidays, I'm like not gonna go.
Okay, that's fine. But there is a sense of community, like you have
For sure.
right?
For sure. And
Family who are-
culturally, for sure.
Right.
So like if I'm hanging out with people culturally, by the way, I get the same cultural connection and satisfaction to hang out with you. Like,
right. So
like,
culture and faith are different.
right.
Yeah.
So like we both are from, misunderstood religions.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
right. Yeah.
get a lot of hate from certain places and we're there's fanaticism on certain sides that really embarrass us.
Yeah.
On my side.
Side.
So like, okay, so that's the reality.
Yeah.
But the other part culturally is, okay, well, it's a tradition. We know where it's from. There's a tradition that I'm very proud of in Judaism, where it's a lot of things you get to talk and question everything. You can stand in the middle of temple and say to the rabbi who's saying something, I'm not sure I agree with you.
That's amazing.
And that is, I don't agree with you. And here are my reasons for not agreeing. And the person standing up isn't wrong. That's like, there is no right or wrong.
Right.
There's just interpretations.
Have you ever experienced that before?
Yeah. I've done that.
You have done that?
Yeah.
In temple, you stood up?
Yeah.
What did you say? What was the thing?
The rabbi generally asks a question at the end, and it said like, and he has a thesis to whatever his sermon is,
right?
And I would question the thesis, and I forgot exactly what I questioned, but I said, your basic premise, I don't agree with. Whatever it was. I said, I don't think that's truly how human nature is.
Wow.
That's not my experience of it, and I don't find it. He went, that's interesting, and it was. I know it excoriated me, and nobody said that's not it, or you can also stand up and say, I don't believe in God, and you're still a Jew if you don't believe in God.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you don't believe. That's not
good for you for doing that. I like that actually.
I do too. That's one of the things I like about
question.
it.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, we're given this intellect. We should be able to question. We should be able to.
But we do naturally question
dissect
things.
And yeah, I think it's important.
That's great part of it. But also, if you're a true believer, you get something else out of it, which is if you're not questioning it, if you're just going, this is great, then you have some overall sense of good, of well-being, of meaning. That
I can't do
at
that.
The end of the road, I can't either. At the end of the road, there's a reward of some kind, and you're doing God's work. Well, there's a lot of stuff.
I can't do that. I find the more I question. This is the thing. I find the more I question, the deeper my faith is.
Yeah.
Because when I find the answer, I'm like, okay, I got to this answer, or I got to this understanding.
Yeah.
And then it just deepens you. I just think that's like a better journey for me.
What other traditions, non-religious, do you cherish from your upbringing? Like, is there like Canada Day? like
I'm a big fan of Canada Day. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
we have a Thanksgiving.
Right.
It's a harvest. It's not necessarily about.
Now, did Canada's Thanksgiving come after American? The history of it. A lot of things when I went to Canada. Were, for good or for bad, in the shadow of the United States.
Well, it's a younger country.
Much younger, 1967 or something, like, right? I mean,
not 67. It's like 18.
No. The Constitution of Canada was ratified.
Oh, ratified. Sure, that's right.
In 1967.
Yeah, but it's innocent.
Don't challenge me on Canada
Day is celebrated.
Listen, you bastard. I know Canada.
You know Canada. This is how much we have in common.
Exactly.
Canada itself is like 156 years old.
Yeah, well, it was a protected. It was a British colony.
It is still. Yeah, we're still a Commonwealth.
Yeah, I know, but it's like it's the when it became its own
thing,
official country.
Sure.
I was alive.
Right, that's right.
I was alive when it became its own official country.
It's our thing, but we're not independent. Like we're not. We're still kind of connected. We're still connected in a way.
Well, like what does Great Britain give you in Canada? How does it help? Does money change hands?
We certainly give them money. I think.
I know.
that's
I mean, I know the royal family's on your money.
Is on our money for sure. Yeah.
I mean, but what do you get?
That's about it. But it's nice to have that,
I guess so. I don't know. Quebecois don't really care.
They want to get out.
Exactly.
Some of them want to. Yeah.
Right.
There's this. I think that I do value Canada Day. I guess I celebrate that. Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving is like, I celebrate that. That's like a fun.
I think it's fantastic, but
and I think it's after. It had to be after this Thanksgiving.
It's after marriage,
but it's for a different purpose.
Right.
Our Thanksgiving.
What about Canadian Halloween?
It's Halloween's Halloween. Halloween's Halloween.
What's the different purpose of Canadian Thanksgiving?
It's not the harvest.
Right. It's a harvest holiday.
It's a harvest holiday.
So is ours.
Isn't yours about something about the natives, and then there's like a...
That's the story behind it, but it's still a harvest holiday.
Sure, I think
they serve pumpkin pie and harvest, these sort of fall
traditions. I think it's more about, so listen, we have our own reckoning with the indigenous community in
you guys
in
have
Canada,
done a
sure.
better job of apologizing than we have.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of work. I know there's still a lot of work to do, but we do recognize that.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
What about Indian traditions, like Indian from India? Traditions?
Yeah, got it. So a lot of those traditions like Diwali and Holi, those are rooted in Vaisakhi. So Vaisakhi is rooted in Sikhism, like the Punjabi Sikh community. Diwali and Holi, like the Festival of Light and the Festival of Color. Those are rooted in Hinduism. So I'll take part in those. I have lots of friends from both those communities who celebrate, and I'll jump in and certainly take part in their religious.
But is there anything cultural or otherwise that you take from that? I mean, I know India is a gigantic place,
huge,
and so saying India is like saying the world. But
right.
But is there anything that your family took from India that stayed in Africa and then came to Canada?
So the food, for example, culture. That's an interesting thing. The food, the language, but some of the religious things that we would celebrate, like Eid is going to come up soon, after Ramadan. But some of the religious things that we'll celebrate, if there's like a festivity, the South Asians will bring in some of like the dance forms that were from India. So Ras and Dandiya. It's like clapping, and there's this dance with these sticks. Those will be used to celebrate. Those will be used to commemorate whatever holiday.
Do you know those dances?
I do know those dances.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Jay, we got to go one time. I'm telling you.
I would love to.
Yeah, I'm going to take you. I'm serious.
I would love to go.
Yeah, I think you'll have a lot of fun.
Let's plan a trip. I would love to go. I don't know that I'll convince... My son would love to go too, but fun.
The food's so good.
I've always wanted to go.
Food's good. People are great. So generous.
I've been to Africa. I've been to places. The thing that you're always afraid of is the dichotomy between the haves and the have-nots when you go, and you're worried about that in the third world. But which is true. But it's here in Los Angeles too.
We would do it.
I mean,
I'm saying we would celebrate here, but the have-nots are everywhere.
The have and have-nots are really, but it wasn't like this in Los Angeles for many years. In the homeless population or the unhoused,
it's worse now.
It's much worse now.
Yeah,
and so the have and have-nots is becoming more like what I saw in Uganda or in Kenya and places like that, where there was like shanty towns and.
There's a lot more of that here. I noticed that.
It's terrible.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that I've seen in Canada, but here it's everywhere.
Yeah,
in LA, it's everywhere.
It's very problematic.
Yeah. Can I also just say one more thing?
Yeah.
I want to just say, I think like the reason why we're able to talk like this, just to go back to what you were saying from the beginning, coming from whatever the I guess the differences are, but the reason why we're able to is because if you approach somebody, or you approach a conversation with like an openness, like there's not like I feel comfortable enough to say something that might come across like ignorant, and I'm sorry, but it's not like. But as long as you're patient enough to listen to the question and then help me answer this, that I think is the way you're going to build bridges.
I only make fun of you after you leave. That's how I do it.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's how I do it. And that should make you feel very comfortable.
Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
No,
you know what I mean?
You're like this too. We're interested in the world.
Yeah.
We're curious people.
Yeah.
We don't. We have our traditions and our beliefs, but we don't have dogma exactly. We're not saying anybody's wrong.
Right.
We're just out here sort of figuring it out. But that's also very Canadian. Like that's honest.
There's some Canadians who are not like that.
I know.
And there's some Americans who are just like that. So
I find more Canadians are very open to things, and multiculturalism is even more embraced there, and in a great way that I don't always find. I guess in Los Angeles for sure, multiculturalism is here, but not everywhere in this weird country
in the
of mine.
country, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's important to be okay to have the conversation. Like we should, because if I am scared then to ask a question, say about you or your community or something,
Right.
then I'm just going to be left with my own thought and answer around it.
Right. But interestingly enough, working together in an artistic endeavor and trying to present a world of truth,
Yeah.
we get to ask each other all kinds of questions. And that's really helpful. And neither of us presume that there's one truth or one answer.
No.
And that's a fantastic way to explore all this stuff. And I think that is, if you're an artist, you have to be open like that. If you're, if you're an imam, maybe not so much, but if you're an artist, you have to be open to all different points of view to try and really find the truth of this humanity that we're trying to represent or communicate across our art.
Yeah. And I think that's when we connect to other cultures and when we see on screen, because it's done honestly and truthfully. Yeah.
I got a phone call. I was thinking it's my mother.
Is it your mom?
Yeah, it is. So now it is time for viewer mail.
Okay.
Or listener mail.
Now it's time for listener mail.
This is a strange question from Pearl.
Okay, Pearl.
And she says, if you could communicate only using emojis for a day, how would you get your message across?
I think there's plenty of emojis.
For everything?
What's missing?
Do you speak emoji?
I text emoji.
Okay. So you don't
use too many emojis, do you?
I don't do emojis. It's too complicated.
If I sent you an emoji, I was like, "Hey Jay, I'll see you soon," and I sent you like a happy face or something, would you be like, would you roll your eyes? Would you? No. I know you know what it is, but would you roll your eyes like, I can't believe you sent me an emoji? Who's this guy?
I wouldn't roll my eyes at the happy face because I know what it is. I probably think, well, that's extra. That's a little bit more than I need. It's fine. Is it like he expects this? Our interaction, we're going to see it a little bit, and it will be happy for sure.
I'm happy to see it. Can't wait to see it.
I expected it to be happy already. Like I don't need that extra thing. Like or like a sad face or a question mark.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how much.
It's good we're having this conversation. Yeah. There have been times when like, that's not mad. It's okay.
But do you normally emoji?
Sometimes I do like not. I'd say 60% of the time, 60% of my texts would have an emoji.
With women more than anybody else?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe.
See, I think guys or people use emojis in lieu of actual conversations. So they'll send a picture, especially when they don't want to ruin a burgeoning relationship or something like that.
Yeah.
You send an emoji is like, easy because it's generic enough that it sort of communicates something, but it doesn't. You're not going to say the wrong thing.
Right.
It's in place of actual communication.
Some emojis are like, kind of feel mean when someone gives you the thumbs up. I'm like, thumbs up? What is that?
Why?
It's like, hey, I'll see you soon. Fine. It just feels a little like
aggressive.
Sometimes.
What are you interpreting that?
It's just have you seen the emoji thumb? It's just like a big thumb.
So you'd never send the thumbs up?
I don't send thumbs up.
Okay.
I don't send thumbs up. I send like different expressions on the face.
I had a thumbs up, and apparently I got, I have different skin colors for skin.
Yeah.
I had too dark one. Like somebody thought I was appropriating.
Like me?
Like a brown hand.
You like it, but I'm writing a South Asian story, so I can do this.
I had brown hand thumbs up. It was just the one that was available in the thing, and I just used it. And they said, I can't use that brown thumb up because I don't have a brown thumb. It's like, well, it's not yellow.
That's just a shade of brown.
The one they want me to use is a yellow thumb, which is also not my shade. I don't
Jaundice.
know. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of rules that I don't know. That's another reason I'm not going to use a lot of emojis. I know what the shit emoji is. Yeah. I got that.
I don't use that.
I got that. And I got I'm sick or laughing or crying or that kind of faces. Yeah, but it's you have to search your keyboard for a separate thing and go find the thing.
Yeah,
it's so
it's
much
not
work.
super accessible. Yeah, but I have scrolled. I was like, oh, this is a good emoji. I gotta find this one. The face palm. Where is that one? The one that one's a good one.
Only in courtship. That's the only time I'd ever see it is like if I was trying to woo somebody and like I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'm going to send this flag, French flag or something. We're going to dinner to the French restaurant, French flag. I don't know.
I guess the answer is I could get my message across with the amount of emojis that are out there.
All right.
And available. Pearl.
Symbols are great. hieroglyphics, symbols are great.
Yeah.
But I feel like that the given meaning of everything isn't completely clear, even with the world of emojis. And I wouldn't be able to. You're not able to have nuanced conversations.
Well, it's like, can you have a nuanced conversation over text? I feel like I can't. I need to pick up the phone or send a voice note at that point. Do I need to like really?
But you can. You can. It takes time.
It's a long
and
page.
it's like a letter. It's sending a letter.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as a conversation. I agree.
I prefer the combo.
All right. Well, now it is time for our moment of joy.
Oh, wow.
A moment of joy.
What in life that you can conjure up in a moment, or if you needed to, could either an image or an activity or something that you're going to look forward to that gives you joy?
There's plenty of things. This is gonna sound so cheesy, but I really enjoy. I'm really enjoying spending a lot of time with my mom and dad, and making them laugh. To me, is like a real, like when I hit something that makes them, that gets them.
Do they have a great sense of humor?
They have a great sense of humor.
Well, that's great.
They find everything funny,
right?
And they are very funny.
That's good.
My mom especially is very funny.
Yeah.
And so when I get her on a roll, that to me is like a really good.
It's hard to make my dad laugh.
Your dad is funny though, right? He's a comedic writer.
He's a comedic writer, but he's very judgmental about what is funny and what isn't funny.
Oh, wow.
Because it's his business. So you can try to make a joke, and he would look at it and go,
Let me punch that up for you, son.
Well, he did.
Did he?
He used to definitely punched up my jokes, and also if I brought friends over and they would try to make a joke, he would say, it's funnier if you would say it this way. Make the funny punchline at the end, or shorten it up a little bit, or whatever. And I've tried not to do that in my own life, because of course people hate that. But
you're right, though.
But he was right.
But aren't you right though when you're trying to do it as well?
I'm right for a particular style. I can say that the joke would be funnier in this way, in the style I'm hearing it. But part of what's funny about things is how people individually tell things.
Right.
So I don't know. So if it works, it works. Sometimes they're telling a joke you've heard before, and then they're fucking it up, and then you go, you're definitely messing this up.
Please let me help you here.
Yes. The joke was, why does Dr. Pepper come in a bottle?
Why? His
wife died. So that's the joke.
Okay.
And it's a dirty joke. In school somebody told it this way. It's like, why did Dr. Pepper's wife die? It's like, what? So they ruined it. They said the punchline first, and then tried to adjust it to say, and that's why it comes in about. That's not the joke. That's not how it can work. You need to have this.
The inflection has to be.
The setup has to be set up, and the punchline has to be the punchline.
Got it.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right.
Terrible joke. Good joke.
It is a terrible joke. But my parents will. My wife, when I first introduced her to my family, she's a comedy writer. She still told my father would still correct her jokes. Yeah.
Wow,
difficult. It's all right. They've been married for 27 years, so she's all right with it. She's okay at this point. And her mother's the opposite. Her mother's a big laugher, loves everything.
Right.
So better to be that way. Better to be the way your parents are.
Let me see this. When was the first time your dad corrected your wife's joke? Was it like a huge fight? Was it like a problem?
No, it was the day they met. I'm telling you. The day they met? Sure.
He corrected her.
Yeah, if she tried to make a joke, he would say, no, it'd be funnier this way. Yeah. He means no harm. He thinks he's helping.
Right.
Thinks he's helping.
And what was her reaction? She's like,
she hated it.
Of course.
She hated it. It's like, who the fuck are you to tell me I can't tell my joke my way? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. All right. Well, this has been a delight.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for your friendship. And I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you. And when our show is a big hit, and then it's all over, I'd still want to be friends with you.
Yeah. Inshallah, that's what we say. God willing.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay. Inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah.
Okay.
God willing.
And it sounds almost like enchilada, which I also like. Yeah. Inshallah.
You love it, enchiladas.
I love an enchilada. Who doesn't love it?
Spiritual. Next time you have an enchilada, it's going to be a spiritual experience for you.
I do like spending time with you, and thank you for being alone with Jay Kogan, and thank you, our audience, for being alone with Husein and Jay. And please spend some time today reaching out to somebody and talk to somebody about something. Get off your ass and communicate with somebody. Just do it, just a little bit. All right. See you next time.